Hey YouTube, Midwest Comics and Pops. Today we're going to do a different kind of video. We're going to do a villain spotlight on Mr. Negative from the Spider-Man mythos. We're going to show you the pop I have, all the comics I have, including his first appearance in comics, and give you a little bit of background story on him and what makes him such a fun villain. And we hope you stick around. If you like this video, like, subscribe, ring the bell to get notifications on future videos. And stick around to the end. We'll give a preview for the next video I'm working on. Alright, let's get into this.
Finally.
Alright, so the first couple of items we're going to look at here is the Pop Spider-Man from the Gamerverse, Mr. Negative number 398. Now here's a full 360 view of Mr. Negative with his white suit, his white tie, white outfit, white hair, white everything except his black skin. He is a photo negative of his counterpart, Martin Lee. Mr. Negative's first appearance in comics was a cameo at Free Comic Book Day in 2007. He was created by Dan Slott and Phil Jimenez. He just had a brief appearance on a telephone call with Override as he was going through the book on a completely separate mission than what Spider-Man was going on. And he didn't make his first full appearance in comics until January of 2008 in Amazing Spider-Man number 546 in the Brand New Day storyline, which immediately came after the One More Day. Some of the special abilities of Mr. Negative is he has a superhuman strength and reflex, healing touch, mind control. He has the ability to switch between his reversed and primary nature, and he can charge melee weapons with his energy, as you see in the sword that he showed on the pop. Mr. Negative's counterpart, Martin Lee, the two of them exist in a duality of Martin Lee is the good side, to where he operates a soup kitchen in Chinatown called Feast, which is the food, emergency aid, shelter, and training center. And the bad side, Mr. Negative, who is a criminal, wants to take over and essentially become the kingpin of crime in Chinatown. Just like another one of my favorite villains. Martin Lee is an undocumented Chinese immigrant from the Fujian province who attempted to travel to America to be with his wife. His mode of transportation was a slave ship called the Golden Mountain. It was operated by the Snakehead Gang as a way to sell Fujian captives as overseas slaves. The ship, on its way to New York, ran into a big storm and broke up and crashed. And everyone had to make a break for it, and there were no survivors except one. That person was Martin Lee. And he spent the following years building a large fortune and dedicating himself to helping those less fortunate. Now that's his first background, his first origin story. Later you find out that story is later to be revealed as somewhat false. The only Mr. Negative persona is aware of what that true story really is. Really, Mr. Negative was one of the crew members of the Golden Mountain. When the ship nearly crashed on the New York shores, he was the only survivor, but he stole the paperwork of one of the deceased Fujian slaves, the real Martin Lee. So this gang member, who you never even know his real last name or his real first name, a gang member was eventually captured by the Magia Don Silvermane and experimented on by the chemist Simon Marshall, who is responsible for creating Cloak and Dagger. Now with that, he reacted with that chemical as a light and a dark side, and that's how Mr. Negative was born. The two sides are not aware of each other early on, and how they knew there was something going on is there's a chessboard in Martin Lee's office inside Feast where Martin Lee always played the white pieces, and every once in a while he would see a black piece played. He didn't know who was doing it, but it's later found out that that is Mr. Negative playing the chessboard against him. So, again, Martin Lee, the good side, humanitarian, philanthropist, dedicating himself to helping those less than fortunate at the Feast Center. And his dark side is Mr. Negative, whose goal is to take over crime in Chinatown in New York City. So where's Mr. Lee now? Well, Mr. Negative right now is currently over in China. he had some arrests and he tried taking over and attacking Peter Parker's Parker Industries in Hong Kong. And he was able to corrupt Cloak and Dagger. But Peter Parker was able to rescue them and break them of his spell. And he's currently at large in China hunting down the original Snakehead gang that was responsible for him going overseas as kind of a vendetta. And that's the last we've heard from him. So hopefully we get some more information from him soon. So everyone knows Mr. Negative had a huge part in the Spider-Man PS4 video game. Most recently, as evidence on the cover on the comic book on the right, which is an homage to the Mr. Negative Dark Reign comics from before. But that was not his first appearance in video games. In 2011, Spider-Man Edge of Time, there's a copy of the Daily Bugle about Mr. Negative in the present, and a newspaper in the year 2099 about Mr. Martin Lee helping. So that's his first appearance there. And it was very brief, and you have to be looking for it. In 2012, The Amazing Spider-Man, Mr. Negative is referred to by a porter, Whitney Chang, as a mysterious person leaving his signature next to a homeless shelter named Feast. And that's all you see of him there. In 2014, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Shocker mentions Mr. Negative's crew in fear of Cletus Cassidy's killing spree. And in 2017, Mr. Negative appears as a playable character in the LEGO Marvel Superheroes 2 via the Cloak and Dagger DLC. So he had 4 other mentions or appearances in video games before the 2018 hit Breakout. But the 2018 version is by far the best, as they tweaked his origin a little bit, as it was found out that, spoiler alert, Norman Osborn was, with the help of Otto Octavius, was responsible for creating Mr. Negative through Martin Lee as a young boy who killed his parents, which is very different than the comic book, but honestly, it played much better for the video game. So where have you seen Mr. Negative on TV? Well, there's a Marvel Noir universe, and the version of Mr. Negative appears in Ultimate Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six.
Now I'll show you all its power!
And in the animated film, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, in Peter Parker's lair, among his costumes and photos of his enemies, a picture of Mr. Negative can be seen if you pause the right frame for it. So everyone, there's my video on Mr. Negative, the pop and the comics that make up my collection. If you guys like this video and want to see other Villain Spotlight videos, hit me up in the bottom in the comments. Leave a like and subscribe on the video again. And the next video I'm working on is going to be a big one. It is the Quantum Suit Pops for Avengers Endgame. And I finally collected all of them.
Whatever it takes.
And hopefully you guys enjoy what I've got. All right, everyone. See you next time. Thanks.